All right, so looks like we got a couple of students already in class. That's great to see. I think we're good to begin class now. So thanks guys for joining. Let's discuss a little bit of our agenda for today. We're going to start off with our short story. So no longer are we taking up homework. That homework is going to be edited on the forum instead. So we're going to jump into our short story. We have a couple of multiple choice questions and then then a long answer question after, just to practice our reading comprehension skills. After that, quick vocab exercise with some creative writing, and then back to our lesson plan of, I think we started problem and solution writing most recently, so we're going to continue that. So first things first, our short story. Let's start off with Charlie. Can you read this slide for us, please?
In the small town of Windermere, a peculiar old man named Mr. Thatch owned a clock shop on the corner of Main Street. The shop was filled with ticking clocks of all shapes and sizes, each handcrafted with in intricate designs. No one in Windermere could remember a time when the shop wasn't there or when Mr. Thatch wasn't hunched over his workbench, tinkering away. He was a man of a few words, but his clocks were said to keep time perfectly, never missing a single second. Rumor had it that Mr. Thatch's skill came from a secret no one else knew.
All right, very well done. The next slide, Sean, can you read this slide?
One day, 13-year-old Emily passed by the shop on her way home from school. She stopped to admire a clock in the window, with one with golden gears that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Emily has always been fascinated by machines and how they work. Curious, she opened the door and the sound of a tiny bell echoing through the room. Mr. Thatch looked up, startled, as though customers were a rare occurrence. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice raspy but kind. "I was wondering how you make your clock so perfect," Emily said, her eyes wide with wonder. Mr. Thatch chuckled. "It sounded like dry leaves rustling. It's all in the details," he replied mysteriously. Emily noticed a strange clock behind him. Its face was blank, with no numbers or hands, but its ticking was steady and loud. "What's that one?" she asked, pointing. For a moment, Mr. Thatch's face darkened. "That's not for sale."
All right, let's continue here. Charlie, can you read this slide?
Emily left the shop that day, but she couldn't stop thinking about that mysterious clock. The next afternoon, she returned. Mr. Thatch was busy repairing an old cuckoo clock and barely glanced at her. Taking a deep breath, Emily asked, why doesn't that clock have any numbers or hands?" Mr. Thatch sighed deeply and set down his tools. "It's no ordinary clock," he admitted. "It measures time in a different way, by moments, not hours." "What do you mean?" Emily asked, her curiosity growing. Mr. Thatch explained that the clock was called the moment keeper. It stores the happiest and most meaningful moments in a person's life, but it's not to be used lightly. Once a moment is stored, it's gone from your memory forever. Emily stared at the clock, whether unsure whether to feel amazed or uneasy. "Why would anyone use it?" she asked. "To hold on to things they don't want to forget," Mr. Thatch replied.
All right, very well done. And Sean, can you read this slide?
Days passed, and Emily found herself drawn back to the shop again and again. Each time, Mr. Thatch told her more about the moment keeper. One day, he revealed that the clock had been in his family for generations and had sworn to protect it. People have tried to steal it, he said quietly. Some moments are too valuable to fall into the wrong hands. Emily promised she wouldn't tell anyone about the clock, but deep down she couldn't shake the feeling that it held more secrets than Mr. Thatch let on. One stormy evening, Emily was startled awake by a sound of glass shattering. She looked out her windows to see shadows moving near the clock shop. Without thinking, she grabbed her raincoat and ran into the night. When she arrived, she found the shop window smashed and Mr. Thatch lying on the floor, unconscious. The moment keeper was gone. Panicking, Emily called for help, but in the back of her mind, she knew she couldn't let the thief escape.
And the final slide here. Charlie, can you read this slide, please?
Following muddy footprints, Emily raced through the streets until she reached the edge of the forest. There she saw a figure holding the moment keeper. "Stop!" she shouted. The thief turned, startled, and tripped over a tree root. The clock flew into the air, lying in Emily's hands. The thief escaped into the darkness, but Emily didn't care. She returned the moment keeper to the shop just as Mr. Thatch was waking up. "You're braver than I thought," he said weakly, smiling. "But remember, some moments are worth protecting at all costs."
All right, very well done. So that's the end of our short story here. Now let's tackle a few multiple choice questions. The first one says, what first drew Emily into Mr. Thatch's shop? All right, we got a couple answers. B, she was fascinated by a clock in the window. Perfect. That is absolutely correct. Moving on, what made the moment keeper unique? All right, excellent job. Also, option B, it measured moments instead of hours. Next, why did Mr. Thatch protect the moment keeper so carefully? Excellent. Again, B, it stored the happiest and most meaningful moments. And the final question here, where did Emily find the thief? All right, nicely done. So, saying C, yep, at the edge of the forest, correct. Excellent. So now let's tackle our long answer question. This one you can try to submit using around 4 to 5 sentences. Try to provide some detail from the story to back up your answer. And I will also post the story into the chat. So if you guys want to read it, you can definitely feel free. Amy, I know you joined a little bit late, so if you do want to try this out, you can. You will have to read the story on your own in the chat though. But yeah, the question says, why do you think Emily was so drawn to the moment keeper? What does this reveal about her character? So this second part is most important. What does it reveal about her character? So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm going to post the story right now. All right, well done. So we got a couple answers here. Let's take these up. All right, Sean, can you read your answer, please?
Emily was Emily was drawn to the moment keeper because of its unusual characteristics. Emily asked about the clock and learned its secrets. That night, a robber stole the clock and went away into the forest edge, but Emily got it back, then returned it. This shows that Emily is very curious, and when something valuable is endangered, she helps it get it back.
Excellent. Very thorough answer, very well organized. Let's proofread this. I like how you started off. It's a clear, concise, straight to the point topic sentence. Emily was drawn of the moment keeper because of its unusual characteristics. Now, there are a couple things I want to proofread here. Moment keeper, at least in this story, it's the name of something. So we've got to capitalize these words. Capital N, capital K. And it, in this case, we're talking about the possessive form of it. Therefore, we have to use the non-apostrophe form because of its unusual characteristic. Emily asked about the clock and learned its secrets. Yeah, so just like here, you use it correctly. So we got to use it in this form. That night, comma, robbers stole the clock and went away into the forest edge, into the, I guess here we can say forest edge, or you could say edge of the forest, but I'll keep it as it is right now. And then another comma here. But Emily got it back, then returned it. A robber stole the clock and went away into the forest edge, but Emily got it back, then returned it. We can say and returned it here. This shows that Emily is very curious, slightly misspelled. And when something's when something's valuable, we got the apostrophe here. When something's valuable, when something valuable, oh wait, never mind, we don't actually need it here. When something valuable is endangered, so we actually just have to take out the S. Is endangered, she helps it get it back. So we'll put a comma here, and we'll say she helps to get it back. All right. So very well done. In terms of revealing her character, we mentioned that she's curious and that she's determined. She's helpful. So that's some great characteristics to include. Nicely done. Charlie, can you read your answer, please?
Emily was so drawn to the moment keeper because it stored moments instead of telling what hour it is, which is what a normal clock would do. She also felt that Mr. Thatch was hiding more than what he told her. This proves that she is curious and smart.
Excellent. Very nicely done. And very similar to our previous answer, you have a strong topic sentence to begin your answer. So Emily was so drawn to the moment keeper because it stored moments instead of telling what hour it is, which is what a normal clock would do. She also felt that Mr. Thatch was hiding more than what he told her. This proves that she is curious and smart. Very well done. So, very straight to the point. If you wanted to add a little bit of detail, like a specific example from the story or a quote or anything, for sure, that would have boosted your answer, but this is a very strong answer as it is. Nicely done. Nothing I can change here for proofreading. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to our next topic, which is all about vocab and creative writing. So, Amy, can you read Oh wait, Amy, you got an answer too? Let me take that up. Did not see your answer. All right, Amy, can you read your answer for us, please?
I think Emily was so drawn to the moment keeper because she thought the clock was strange. Instead of telling what hour it is, it stores the happiest and most meaningful moments in life. This means Emily is very curious about strange things.
All right. Excellent job, Amy. So you did this without even having to read the story with us as a group. So very well done. Very impressive. Again, strong topic sentence. We used information from the question to create our topic sentence. That's a great habit that all you guys have. I do want to change the phrasing a little bit here. So I think Emily was so drawn to the moment keeper. And then as you're reading, you said because she thought the clock was strange. And then this can be the end of our sentence. And we can cross out this because, and we'll make this instead our start of the next sentence. All right, let me change the color. All right, instead of telling what hour it is, it stores the happiest and most meaningful moments in life. This means Emily is very curious about strange things. Perfect. Very well done. Great job of adding this detail at the end to talk about her characteristics. Yeah, if you wanted to add a little bit more detail to further explain her curiosity, by all means, that would make the answer stronger. But this is for sure a great answer. So now let's go back to our vocab exercise. Sean, can you read this slide for us, please?
Ravenous. Adjective. Definition. Extremely hungry, devouring or craving food in great quantities. Example. But I'm ravenous for news. Any kind of news, even if it's false news, it must mean something. Aghast. Adjective. Definition. Struck with fear, dread, or consternation. Absolute shock. Example. Elizabeth stands in the corner, elbows pressed on her sides, looking as aghast as I feel and paler than usual.
All right. Well done. So the first word is ravenous. And this has a pretty straightforward definition. It has to do with being hungry. And it doesn't have to be hungry for food. Like in this example here, they say they're hungry for news, any news. So they're ravenous for news. So essentially, if you're craving something, if you're extremely hungry, you can replace that phrase with the word ravenous. And aghast, this is our second word, also an adjective. This is to describe a moment or a feeling when you are struck with fear, you're shocked, you're kind of in disbelief. It's kind of like a sudden feeling. So you're suddenly struck with fear or shocked. That would be aghast. So in here, Elizabeth stands in the corner, looking as aghast as I feel, and paler than usual. So she is feeling extremely shocked and fearful. So using these two words, I want you guys to write a short story or paragraph, roughly around 4 to 5 sentences. You can bump that up a little bit. I think you can say 5 to 6. And you're going to write about the following topic. A strange object falls from the sky in your backyard. What do you do with it? So be as creative as you'd like. Be as detailed as you'd like. All you got to do is stick to the topic and use both vocab words. I will post the topic into the chat, and the definitions are on the screen. If anyone has any questions, please let me know. All right, nicely done. So I got a couple answers here. Okay, it looks like everyone's submitted right now. Excellent. All right, so Charlie, can you read your answer for us, please?
One day I saw a strange object in my backyard, and out of curiosity, I touched it. All of a sudden, there was a blinding light so bright that I was blinded. And when I could see again, it looked like my body was gone. Aghast, I realized I was invisible. Thankfully, I realized I could turn visible by thinking about something. No way. Then I realized my belly grumbling. I was very ravenous food. Then something else appeared and I touched it.
No way, you touched it?
My power was gone and I was thankful for that.
All right, so excellent answer right here, Charlie. Great use of both words, aghast and ravenous, were used correctly, perfect context, so everything makes sense. Well done. I do want to proofread a little bit here. So here, this comma, we do not need it. We can simply leave it out and it still makes perfect sense. The word and already combines those two portions of the sentence together, so the comma is not necessary. All of a sudden, there was a blinding light, so bright that I was blinded. It's pretty repetitive if you say blinded twice. So let's just say there was a extremely bright light. All right, and when I could see again, it looked like my body was gone. Aghast, I realized I was invisible. Thankfully, I realized I can turn visible by thinking about something. Then I realized my belly grumbling. So yeah, I guess grumbling's not a real word. I thought it was. Grumbling should be the appropriate word choice here. I was very ravenous for food. Then something else appeared. So we already said then up here. It's a bit repetitive if we say it again in the very next sentence. So I guess we can change this to suddenly. Something else appeared and I touched it. My power was gone and I was thankful for that. And again, this comma is not necessary. All right, so very well done. Amy, can you read your answer, please?
One day when I went to my backyard to relax, I saw something glow. I was ravenous and curious about this thing, but that's when I realized it was actually a hot melted glittery stone, and I was aghast when it landed on my hand. The stone was burning hot. I put the stone inside to let it cool down, and in a few days it cooled. I thought the stone was worth a lot of money, so I let my parents help me carve the stone into jewelry and sold them for a lot of money. After all the jewelry was all sold, we were very rich and happy.
All right, excellent answer. So I see ravenous. I'm not too sure if I see a gas. Oh yes, right there. Okay, so let's proofread this. It looks good to me so far, but one day when I went to my backyard to relax, I saw something glow. I was ravenous and curious about this thing. Very well done. So ravenous is used correctly. If you want to make it more specific, you can say I was ravenous for information or to learn about whatever this is. Otherwise, this is still fine. It's still implied. But that's when I realized, like here, this should be past tense. So realize it was actually a hot, melted, glittering stone. So we're going to need a comma when we're separating our adjectives. And I was aghast when it landed on my hand. The stone was burning hot. I put the stone inside to let it cool down, and in a few days it cooled. I thought the stone was worth a lot of money, so I let my parents help me carve the stone into jewelry and sold them for a lot of money. After the jewelry was sold, we were very rich and happy. All right, very well done. So not any major corrections here and there, so very well written. We got another answer here. All right, Sean, can you read your answer, please?
One day I was in my backyard playing with the ball when something fell out of the sky. I jumped back in aghast, scared of what I just saw. I walked slowly to what the thing was and looked in at the hole it made. It was a huge hole about 2 feet wide. I started getting annoyed and I was ravenous to get rid of it, but I could not because I would get dirty. I came back and started reading a book. In the middle of the book, I saw somebody that got a meteorite in their kitchen. But when I realized that the thing, but then I realized that the thing in my backyard was a meteorite too.
Excellent. So another very creative answer here. Let's proofread this. So one day, I was in my backyard playing with the ball when something fell out of the sky. So right here, we're going to need a comma. I jumped back in aghast, scared of, okay, so we need another comma here. So anytime there's like a pause when we're reading it, that's kind of our sign to put a comma. Scared of what I just saw, I walked slowly to what the thing was and looked at the hole it made. I guess here we don't even need a comma. We can break it into 2 sentences. Or you can use a semicolon. Either one would work fine there. It was a huge hole about 2 feet wide. I started getting, before I continue, any numbers should be spelled out in like word form, unless it's like a year. But in this case, 2 would be spelled out. I started getting annoyed and I was ravenous to get rid of it. Nicely done. So you're very eager, you're very hungry for that action, I guess. But I could not because I would get dirty. I came back in and started reading a book. In the middle of the book, comma, I saw something that got a meteoroid in their kitchen. I saw somebody that got a meteoroid in their kitchen, but then I realized that thing in my backyard was a meteor too. So another comma here. So, Sean, we're gonna need to work on when to use commas. It looks like consistently we have an issue with placing our commas in the right spot, or just placing commas in general. So please, whenever you're writing your story, try to read it through one time real quick and try to identify where the pauses are. Typically, what I see in your writing is that you establish a time period, like one day, but then I realized those are time periods and those should be separated by a comma right after. So that's just something that you've consistently forgot to include. So please be aware of that for next time. Overall though, nice answer. Forgot to mention this. And 2 at the end right here. All right. All right, yeah, so overall, very well done to everyone with their submissions. In the last few minutes of our class, let's try to work on an exercise based on expository writing. However, a specific type of expository writing, problem and solution writing. So just to refresh, this is a pretty straightforward type of writing. It's a simple explanation of what a problem is, give some background information to the problem, provide some causes of the problem, some of the symptoms of the problem, so like what's happening because of the problem. And then another portion of the paragraph, or in a separate paragraph entirely, state your solution. Clearly state what you think would be the best course of action, how are you going to solve things, and how effective is it? So that's a pretty simple way of breaking it down. We did a brief exercise on problem and solution based on an example of it. So I want you guys to reread this example because we have one more question that we want to answer here before we continue. So let's have someone read this slide. Let's go with Amy. Can you read this slide for us, please?
Has become a major issue in many communities. Trash left behind not only makes the park unattractive, but also harms wildlife that may ingest it or get tangled in it. Additionally, littering can lead to the spread of diseases and discourage people from visiting parks altogether. Solution to combat this problem: communities can install more trash and recycling locations throughout the park. Signage reminding visitors to dispose of their waste responsibly can also encourage better habits. Or organizing volunteer cleanup events can help remove existing litter while educating participants on the importance of keeping parks clean. Finally, introducing fines for littering can act as a deterrent, encouraging people to think twice before leaving trash behind.
All right, excellent job. So very clearly stated a problem, briefly stated, so not too much detail involved. Most of the detail is in our solution. Now, your question is going to say, how does introducing fines for littering help reduce the problem? So this question is simply just getting you to practice evaluating the effectiveness of a solution. So I posted the question into the chat, and I'll put the information back on the screen. I want you guys to answer the question, but I also want you to think about describing how effective this solution is. I want you to analyze how effective it is. So try your best to do that as well. Your answer should be around like 3 to 5 sentences. If you have any questions, please let me know. All right, so we got a couple answers here so far. Just for the sake of time, I'm going to take up these answers right now. All right, so we've got everyone's answers, so that's great. Sean, can you start us off? Can you read your answer, please?
Introducing fines can help littering problems. Fines can help as a deterrent for the visitors of the fines for littering. It can also be encouraging people to think before they throw trash somewhere it's not supposed to be. The impact can be significant because of the fine, meaning that anybody got caught littering that got to pay the fine. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so we'll change up that last sentence. For the most part, though, your answer is excellent. Can help littering problems, act as a deterrent for the visitors of the park for littering. So instead of saying for littering, let's say, because this is more of a preventative thing, we can say if they plan on littering. Obviously, no one really plans on it, but at least now they're aware that they can't. It can also be encouraged. So we can say it can also encourage, not be encouraged. People to think before they throw trash somewhere it's not supposed to be. Okay, that makes sense. The impact can be significant because of the fine, meaning that if anybody got caught littering, got to pay the fine. We can say they would have to pay the fine. They would have to pay the fine. All right, very solid answer. Excellent job. Let's see. Charlie, can you read your answer for us, please?
Introducing fines for littering will help reduce the problem of people littering. Firstly, people will have to pay when they litter. They will think twice. Also, fines will help pay people cleaning the park.
Excellent. And that last part is very interesting. It'll help people that are actually cleaning the park, working for the park. So in terms of your proofreading, I see nothing that I can change here. The only thing I'll add is try to focus more on why this is effective. So not necessarily what is the benefit, to other people, like after you pay the fine, but why is it effective to keep the park clean? How is it going to keep the park clean? Because the overall problem is that the park is not clean and they want to make solutions to make it clean. So yeah, let's try to focus on that. This sentence works very well, but we kind of need more than just one sentence. Amy, can you read your answer for us, please?
Introducing reduces the problems because people don't like paying for fines. So if someone litters and pays the fine, next time he should think twice before leaving trash behind, or he'll have to pay the fine again. This will encourage and push people to stop littering.
Very well done. Introducing fines for littering reduces the problem because people don't like paying for the fines. So very straight to the point. Excellent job of incorporating why this is effective solution, because it directly correlates to our problem. So if someone litters and pays the fine, next time he should think twice before leaving trash behind, or he'll have to pay the fine again. Nicely done. This will encourage and push people to stop littering. All right, excellent answer right here. Very detailed, very much related to our problem. So yeah, I think for next week's class, we'll focus more on writing our own problem and solution paragraph. As for now, you guys do have a homework side at the end. So you want to do essentially the same task. We're going to read a paragraph and answer a couple of problem and solution analysis questions. So you guys can submit that Great stuff today, everyone. Great participation. I'll see you all next week. Take care.